So the Korg DSS-1. This thing is a really quirky, weird, kind of misunderstood keyboard that came out in the mid-'80s, 85, 86. It's closely related to the DW8000. If you're familiar with that, that synth is it's very simple in terms of architecture. It just takes a small handful of typical waveforms. But the special thing about it is it ran those waveforms through a traditional subtractive synth engine with an analog filter and then a pair of delays. So this does that. But the beauty of this is that you've got the whole 12-bit sampler on the front end, so you can sample anything, whether keyboards, drums, guitars, basses, drum loops, vocals, whatever. So I kind of think of this as a poor man's Fairlight or PPG, in that you can create your own digital waveforms or you can sample them. So it's just kind of a chameleon. It lets you do all kinds of things. But the beauty of it is the way it sounds. It just sounds gorgeous through that analog filter and then the twin delay lines, which you can pan them apart. And oddly enough, even though at its core it's digital, I get sounds out of this thing because of the analog filter and delays that rival any synth in my studio, whether my Prophet 5, my OBX8. It just sounds massive. So I just wanted to play you a small handful of sounds. The other cool thing about this is that you can map it's kind of weird, you can map the pitch bend joystick to open and close the filter. Problem with that is you can only play with one hand when you do that. So I'm going to map that to a foot pedal that you can't see. And I'm just going to play you some of these sounds and sweep the filter so you can hear how gorgeous this filter is. So all right, enough blabbing. Just going to play you a couple sounds. Here we go. So there you go. I just wanted to play a few sounds to give you an idea of why I like this thing so much. It really does fantastic analog synth type sounds. But again, it can do so much more. And I've got this one fully retrofitted. It's obviously custom painted, metallic blue. And I've got, I went through and overhauled everything, fresh contacts, new OLED display, and I've got this Gotek USB drive that replaces the floppy. That's a must with this thing. It really lets you load things way faster than the original factory floppy drive, and it also has this custom screen. I know you can't really see it from there, but it puts the contents of the drive right here on top of the synth that you can see a lot easier. So you can navigate the contents of the drive, and I've got thousands of sounds on this little USB stick that's in here. So kind of brings this thing 40 years into the future, into the present, and really makes it a compelling, funky vintage synth sampler from the 80s, but lets you use it in a modern workflow, and it's just a lot of fun. And man, it really does sound great. So anyway, there you go. Korg DSS-1, check one out if you get a chance. And also, last bit of trivia. This thing kind of became the foundation for the M1, which was to come later. Some of the factory sound discs that came with this, you would recognize them if you had an M1 back in the day. There's a few things in common there. So, crazy enough though, I did not like the M1. I didn't like it at all. It sounded harsh to me. But this thing, with the analog filters, and the fact that you can sample your own sounds, I would take this over an M1 any day. So anyway, there you go. Hope you enjoyed this look at a fun piece of vintage 80s synth gear. Talk to you soon.